The start of university is just around the corner, so here's everything you need to take and not take to make sure that you're prepared for anything. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Tom here from Save the Student, and today I'm going to be taking you through everything you do and don't need to be packing for uni so that you're prepared for everything it has to throw at you. I'm going to be running through electricals, kitchen products, bathroom products, what you might need in your bedroom, clothing, stationery, important documents you might need, plus any other random thing that is still super important. Oh, and remember to drop a like and hit the subscribe button for loads more stuff like this. But I think before we get into the main list, it's probably worth saying that you might not necessarily need to bring absolutely everything on this list to university. It's probably best to use it as a guide and remember that you are moving in with other people who'll be bringing some of their own stuff too. So let's say you're moving into a house of say 6 people. You probably don't all need to bring your own toaster. And even if you do turn up at uni and it turns out you don't have 1 or 2 things, don't worry about it. You'll probably live near some shops that sell these things. They might even do student discount. So don't worry, you can still buy things when you get to uni. It's also worth remembering that university homes aren't exactly renowned for being the cleanest or tidiest places. So it's probably not worth bringing your most expensive or most precious things with you, especially if they're going to be in communal areas like the bathroom or the kitchen. Also bear in mind that the list I'm about to go through isn't exhaustive. It isn't the complete list of everything you need to take to university. So I'm going to miss out some obvious things like, you know, underwear and a laptop or whatever. But if you go to the guide on our website, that does have the complete list and a free checklist that you can use so you don't forget anything when you're packing for uni. So we're going to start off with electricals. And first up, we have got an extension lead. Now, I think this is one of the biggies. I think it's super underrated as something to bring to university. You're probably not going to know how many plugs you're going to have in your university room. And especially if your accommodation is older, you might struggle to find enough room to plug everything in. So bring one of these and you'll be absolutely sorted. Next up, we have got a USB stick or an external hard drive. Now, with things like the cloud, it's maybe a little bit less important than it used to be to have something like this. But I think with big projects in particular, it's good to have that extra backup. So bring one of these with you if you can. You might also want to bring an Ethernet cable to connect your laptop to the internet because sometimes the Wi-Fi in university accommodation isn't always the best. It's a good idea to bring some headphones as well. Now this sounds super obvious, but you might also want to get a decent pair of noise cancelling headphones just in case people in your halls are being a little bit too loud. But aside from headphones, you might also want to bring a portable speaker, which is absolutely ideal for house parties or pre-drinks. You might also want to bring a games console. Now obviously if you're a gamer, you're probably going to bring it anyway, but it's also worth noting that it's super good for bonding with your new housemates. And finally, whilst a lot of these things will be rechargeable, some of them won't be. So with that in mind, it is worth bringing some spare batteries, especially if you have something like a TV remote or a wireless mouse. Moving on now to the kitchen, and we'll start with a small cutlery set. Now, I say small because do you really need 4 of everything? Like, let's imagine you move into a house of 6 people. If everyone brings 4 of everything, that means 24 knives, 24 spoons, 24 forks, and so on. So really, 2 of each should probably do you. Next up, you're probably going to want to bring a couple of big plates, small plates, and bowls. Again, you probably don't need more than about 2 of each, but it is good to have a couple of different sizes of plate, just depending on what you're eating. You'd also want to bring some mugs. Again, 2 or 3 should be great. You don't need 5 or 6, but you probably will want some in case you have some friends over. And some glasses too, for the same reason, but probably don't worry about bringing wine glasses because A, they'll probably get smashed, and B, it's a uni. People don't really care about drinking wine out of a wine glass. It's also a good idea to have 1 or 2 good sharp knives. Now, there are 2 reasons for this. 1, if you have a good knife, it means you can use it for pretty much anything. But 2, blunt knives are actually more likely to cause you an injury. So if you have a sharp knife, hopefully you'll be safer while you're in the kitchen. You'll want some scissors, whether that be for cutting some veg or opening some packaging or even slicing pizza. And of course, there is Tupperware, which we absolutely love. We think it's one of the best things to take to university. It's absolutely perfect for batch cooking, especially if you're using our student meal plan, which you can find linked to in the description below. And the best thing of all is that you don't even need to buy it. You can just use the leftover ones that you get in a Chinese or an Indian takeaway. A bottle opener is another great thing to bring to uni, especially if you can get a little small one to go on your keychain or something. The number of times people at pre-drinks or at house parties want someone to have a bottle opener with them. If you have one, you will be the hero of the hour. It's also worth bringing a chopping board for chopping. And some tongs and a spatula are both really, really useful to have, especially if you're cooking on the hob. Speaking of which, you'll want to bring a non-stick frying pan, and that's emphasis on the non-stick because if it isn't, it will drive you insane. And for anything that you're not frying, you're going to want to make sure you bring a saucepan with a lid. Now, if you're going to bring more than one, make sure they're different sizes so that they stack easily in your cupboards. For when you inevitably end up cooking either pasta or rice, it's good to either have a colander or a sieve, which actually also doubles up really well for baking. Likewise, a measuring jug is super useful for loads of types of cooking, especially baking. A can opener, just for any of those annoying little tins that don't already have the ring on them. a baking tray for anything you want to put in the oven, some oven gloves to make sure you don't burn yourself when you're taking the baking tray out of the oven, a tea towel, which obviously you know what that's for, and finally for the kitchen, some kitchen cupboard essentials like salt, pepper, rice, pasta, chopped tomatoes, which are all super useful to have in the cupboard at any time, but especially during Freshers Week when you've probably not had a chance to do a proper shop yet. Onto the bedroom. Well, we'll start with the duvet, which sounds like an obvious thing that you need to bring, but it is worth thinking about having an all seasons duvet. So this is one where you can detach it and split it into the two different togs. So it might be like a 9 and a 4. And this is worth thinking about because you don't know how warm or cold your university room will be. So with an all seasons duvet, you'll kind of be prepared for all scenarios. And actually, with that in mind, you might also want to bring a desk fan if you have one, because again, you don't know how hot or cold your room's going to be. And especially when you come into summer, you don't want to be like absolutely boiling whilst you're trying to work. Hangers are also a really good thing to bring. You might not necessarily get them in your uni room and you don't want to turn up and have nothing to hang your clothes on. A laundry basket as well, just so you're not dumping your dirty clothes straight onto the floor. It might also be worth bringing a small mirror. So you might get a mirror in your uni room, but just in case you don't, it's good to bring. But it's also great if you want to do your makeup or something else. You'll want to bring an airer or a clothes horse. And I would personally recommend getting one that's vertical like this, rather than one of those ones that spreads out horizontally, because the vertical ones tend to take up less floor space. And finally for the bedroom, some photos of your family and friends. Now, obviously I've taken these on a Polaroid camera, but if you head to the link in the description of this video, we've got a guide on the site where you can find out how to get hundreds and hundreds of free prints of photos you've already taken, sent to you absolutely free. All you have to do is pay for postage. So now we've covered that, we'll move on to the bathroom, where first things first, you're going to want to have 2 bath towels, so you still have one when the other's in the wash, plus a hand towel, especially if you have an ensuite. Hand soap as well, really useful to bring, again, especially if you have an ensuite, but even if you don't, it's going to get used eventually. Flip-flops or sliders, particularly if you're using communal showers, but potentially as well if someone's not left the kitchen in the best state. And actually sliders are probably even better than flip-flops because it doesn't matter if you're wearing socks or not, you can just slide them right on. Plasters, just in case you have any unfortunate accidents. Contraceptives, because it's Freshers Week and you never know what might happen. And finally for the bathroom, ibuprofen and some vitamin C tablets, because it's Freshers Week. There's a good chance that at some point you'll either be hungover or struck down with Freshers flu. Onto clothes, and obviously I started this video by saying that I wasn't going to take you through all of the really obvious things, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you you need to bring t-shirts or socks with you, but I will go through some of the things that you might not think about bringing. So for instance, gloves and a scarf, because the cold weather comes around a lot sooner than you might think. And for the same reason, slippers are a really good thing to bring to uni as well, especially because again, you don't know how cold your accommodation is going to be and you might want to be keeping your feet warm. You might want to bring some gym kit as well, especially if you're looking to join some kind of sports society. Smart shoes and some kind of smart clothing are both really useful things to bring with you to uni. You might have to go to a job interview, or there might be things like freshers balls as well. Some swimming stuff, because your uni might have a pool, or you and your friends might take a trip to the beach. And last but not least, a fancy dress costume, because fancy dress is super common at uni. Now, to be fair, you might want to wait until you know if there's a theme, or you might want to just make the costume yourself. But either way, we have a couple of really good guides on the website that have loads and loads of ideas in them. So give them a look in the description of this video if you're after some inspiration. Now onto stationery, which is obviously a big thing in terms of what to bring to uni. And first things first, you're going to want to have at least a couple of good pens. If you prefer to take your notes by hand, then you're definitely going to want a notebook and probably some highlighters too. And obviously some textbooks too, although it is worth noting you can often get these secondhand for cheaper or even for free from the library. So head to the guide linked to in the description of this video to find out all the ways you can get textbooks for less. Depending on how you like to revise, post-it notes can be really helpful too. So it might be worth bringing some of them with you to uni. Or if you just prefer to hang your existing notes on the wall, it's really worth bringing some white tack with you when you go to university. Now, I say white tack instead of blue tack because white tack does not leave marks on the wall, which is absolutely ideal if you're in rented accommodation. Now onto the really exciting stuff, important documents. And first and foremost, you're going to want to bring with you your passport and or your driver's license. Now, you'll need this to register for your uni and a GP, but also as a form of ID when you go on a night out. You'll also want to bring your university acceptance letter plus any documents to do with student finance or maybe any bursaries or scholarships you might be getting, just in case there are any issues with any of those in the first few weeks of uni. And of course, a bank card, which sounds obvious, but I thought I'd take it as an opportunity to remind you to make sure you have the best student bank account for you. Now, we have a video on our channel about exactly that, So make sure you give it a watch if you haven't already opened your account. And lastly, onto the other random bits and bobs that you might want to bring with you to uni. And I'm going to start with an umbrella, because let's face it, you're going to uni in the UK, you're probably going to need it. You might want to bring a padlock with you, especially if you're bringing a bike, but also if there's just anything else that you want to make sure is super secure. A doorstop, which is absolutely one of our favorite things to recommend when it comes to what to take to university. Use it to prop your door open on the first day when you're unpacking. People can walk past, say hello. Already you'll be making friends. A flask, which is one of our favorite ways to save money at uni. We all love a coffee or a tea whilst we're working or revising, but make sure you make it at home, bring it with you in one of these, and then you're not spending £3 a pop on a takeaway drink. You might also want to bring a lighter or some matches, especially if you like to light candles, but just make sure you don't set off the fire alarm in halls, because that really does annoy people. A deck of cards is another great thing you can bring with you to help make friends at uni. Don't worry if you don't know any games already, you can Google some before you go, or you can learn some whilst you meet new people, or take a look at the guide that we've linked to in the description of this video that goes through a bunch of drinking games, including some that do use cards. And the very last item on this list of things to take to university, chocolate, sweets, and biscuits. Now, even if you don't want any of these yourself, it is such a good way to make friends. Offer them out to people on the first day, you will be making friends in no time at all. So those are all of the big things that you need to take to university. But remember, we do have the guide on our website that goes through everything in much more detail, plus adds the free checklist that you can download to make sure you don't miss anything whilst you're packing for uni. So good luck with that. Good luck with Freshers Week. And don't forget to like and subscribe for loads more stuff like this.